tonight on The Scene at 6.
Jackson and Dukakis, at the moment a dead heat for the Democrats and a potential problem. The Israelis crack down even harder, and a special report tonight on drugs and terror.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. If Jesse Jackson finishes this primary season with more delegates than any of the other Democratic presidential candidates, but not enough to win the nomination outright, what can the party big shots do? That's the sweet prospect for Jackson tonight, and the dilemma for a lot of Democrats. With the withdrawal of Missouri Congressman Richard Gephardt today, most of his delegates are now distributed to the survivors. And that means a flat tie between Jackson and Michael Dukakis, 623 delegates apiece. Senator Al Gore trails with 368. That is the NBC News count tonight. That is still a long way from the 2,082 required for nomination. But as NBC's national political correspondent Ken Bodie reports now, Jackson's landslide victory in Michigan over the weekend moved him into a higher order. Ken?
Tom, Democratic Chairman Paul Kirk has said that if Jesse Jackson has the most delegates, there will be no concerted effort to deny him the nomination. The fact that Paul Kirk felt he had to make that statement indicates something about the state of affairs inside the Democratic Party right now.
For the most votes.
Today, Jackson was in Connecticut, where his chief opponent, Michael Dukakis, has endorsements from the Democratic governor, U.S. senator, and members of Congress.
We're not getting endorsements from top down. We're getting support from the bottom up.
Dukakis must now prove he can stop Jackson's momentum and regain some of his own.
Endorsements by themselves don't win you elections. It's the time and effort and energy that the people who support you put into it.
The landslide results in Michigan got the attention of the Democratic establishment, which has assumed all along that Jackson will not be nominated. Political scientist Ron Walters says white Democratic leaders, many of them elected with black votes, now have an obligation.
Have to exercise their moral authority to say that anybody who has the ability to appeal to the Democratic constituency in the terms that Jesse Jackson has appealed to them really has the right to have a fair shot at being elected president.
Today, the Democratic establishment began to grapple with the dilemma of Jesse Jackson as frontrunner.
Jesse Jackson's a phenomenon, and nothing in politics makes you more nervous and more itchy than uncertainty.
Many agreed that Jackson's policies will now get a tougher going over.
A moderate liberal. That's where we are. Moderate liberal, not radical. And I believe that Jackson's positions are radical. I've said this many, many times. This is not something new.
The challenge for Jackson will be to prove that he won't spell disaster for the Democrats in November. Specifically, he must demonstrate he can get more and more white votes. Bruce Babbitt says Jackson's white votes now come partly because he's a powerful symbol on the century-old question of race.
Sense of pride that people in my generation, of expectation, of hope, and say, what an extraordinary thing that Jesse Jackson could come in one generation from the streets of Selma, Alabama, to the front runner of our party for president.
But Babbitt also says that the symbolic phase is now over, that anyone voting for Jackson in the primaries in Connecticut, Wisconsin, New York, or the primaries thereafter is sending a message that they really want this man to be president. Tom?
Thank you, Ken Bodie in Washington tonight. And the withdrawal of Congressman Richard Gephardt today raised new questions about the importances of those Iowa caucuses, the first test of the season. Gephardt won there, but as NBC's Dennis Murphy reports now, it's been mostly downhill since then.
Gephardt got one of his biggest receptions in the final moments of his campaign.
It's been said that the opera isn't over until the fat lady sings. Well, last Saturday in Michigan, I think I heard her walking to the microphone. It's time to end a presidential campaign.
It began for Gephardt in Iowa. He campaigned hard there for 2 years. But he didn't catch fire until he began running his commercial about fair trade and Korean car makers.
$48,000 for one of their Hyundais.
Gephardt's protectionist trade message worked.
And I love Iowa.
But Iowa was Gephardt's high water mark. By Super Tuesday, he was broke and reeling from opponents' attacks and negative press coverage.
For and against Reaganomics.
He was tagged as a flip-flopper, a phony populist. Gephardt was routed on Super Tuesday.
Well, I never told you that it was gonna be easy.
He tried to put it back together in Michigan, but it was all over. Voters abandoned him.
I have no alibis, and we lost. There's no question about that.
Tomorrow, Gephardt will file for re-election to Congress. He freed his 168 delegates to support whom they please. Gephardt may endorse a candidate later, but not today. He left the race without any bitterness.
I have no complaints today. I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Dennis Murphy, NBC News at the U.S. Capitol.
On the Republican side, New York Congressman Jack Kemp endorsed Vice President George Bush, who has all but locked up the GOP nomination. Kemp failed to go anywhere with his campaign, but he does have strong ties to the right, and he is a prospect for vice president. Also coming up here tonight on NBC Nightly News, the Israelis get even tougher. And in a special segment report tonight, Brian Ross will show you how this drug boss and others like him have seized control of much of Colombia with terror and cold cash.
I get up early to capture the morning light, but sometimes my arthritis pain catches me first. I used to take aspirin or Tylenol, but today it's Advil. Advil contains a non-prescription strength of the medicine in the prescription brand Motrin. You know, just one Advil is as effective as 2 regular aspirin. That's important to me. And Advil didn't upset my stomach. It gives me hours of relief from minor arthritis pain. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
I tell you, he's gotten goofy.
I like your dad.
Dad? He thinks he's my brother. Last night we were shooting hoops at 10 o'clock.
So?
Marty, this is the same man who never lifted his nose out of a newspaper. Now he listens to Z-Rock on the radio. What is this?
The right vitamin nutrition and a balanced diet helps people get more out of life. Some are finding Kellogg's Product 19, 100% of 12 vitamins and minerals.
I just wish he'd act his age, like your dad.
Feel like 19 again.
It is Israel's toughest crackdown in the occupied territories in 15 years. The Israeli army today ordered the West Bank and Gaza Strip closed through Wednesday, making 1.5 million Palestinians virtually prisoners of those areas. NBC's Martin Fletcher reports tonight on Israel's latest attempt to stop the unrest.
The gate to Gaza closed and won't be open for 3 days. The same for the West Bank. For the first time, the occupied territories are closed to all Arabs and Israelis except the army and Jewish settlers. It's the most extreme of several extreme measures Israel's taking to stop the uprising from getting worse. Wednesday is Land Day, a traditional day of Arab protest against the Israeli government. For many Israelis, when it comes to the territories, no news is good news.
It is likely to become a massive violent demonstration, and we believe that there will be staged demonstrations in front of the TV crews from all over the world. It is therefore a precaution necessary under the circumstances to reduce violence.
Until now, the army claimed the occupied territories were open to the press, though local officers can and frequently do close areas for what they call operational reasons. The clampdown has been accompanied by wide-scale arrests of leading Palestinians. So many, the army stopped releasing the number. It's believed to be about 3,000. Not all are taken by force. The army told Ali Qassim to report to jail, and he says he had no choice but to obey. He's accused of helping incite the revolt against the Israeli occupation. Almost all the occupied territories went on strike today to protest the latest crackdown, and West Bank leaders promised that Wednesday will still be a day of violence. Martin Fletcher, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
Meanwhile, the relentless Persian Gulf tanker war continued today. Iranian gunboats attacking 2 huge supertankers and setting them on fire. One was a Liberian tanker. The other, a Danish ship carrying oil from Saudi Arabia. No casualties were reported on either tanker. Iran has now attacked 9 neutral ships in as many days, apparently in retaliation for an Iraqi air raid earlier this month on Iran's Karg Island oil terminal. An estimated 50 people died in that attack. In Washington, Special Iran-Contra prosecutor Lawrence Walsh said today that he has cut a deal now with Israel for its cooperation in his investigation. After trying for a year, Walsh and his staff now will be able to question Israeli officials about their role in the sale of arms to Iran. The Reagan administration has implied that the arms sales were an Israeli idea.
Heartburn again?
Yeah.
Take some Riapan Plus 2. It's double strength.
I hope it works fast. In lab tests, Riapan Plus 2 starts neutralizing acid in 10 seconds.
You look better.
You want to go out for a banana split? Riapan Plus 2, the fast antacid.
The first name in copiers probably isn't the copier name you think of first. but it's a name that links speed and performance with uncompromising reliability and makes innovative technology simple to use. For meeting the needs of every size business, business relies on the most popular copiers in America. From personal to high-performance copiers, the choice is Canon. Call toll-free 1-800-OK-CANON.
Got a lot of eggs there.
Oh, you know what I always say. Easter ain't Easter without eggs. Just look at this day. It's going to be a real great Easter.
Smoke all these yourself?
You know what I always say. Easter ain't Easter without a ham. Hey, didn't I put my eggs there?
That's the FTD Easter basket bouquet.
Real nice. You know what I always say.
Easter ain't Easter without flowers. The FTD Easter basket bouquet. Bright spring flowers in a colorful Easter basket.
Introducing A1 poultry sauce with herbs, spices, and fruit, meant just for chicken. So A1 poultry sauce makes the most of chicken any way you make it.
Panama's military ruler, Manuel Noriega, sent his troops to do battle today on the streets of Panama City against crowds of civilians demonstrating against him. Panama's economy is all but paralyzed by a shortage of dollars and a general strike, which is now in its second week. However, as NBC's Ed Rabel reports tonight, Noriega is hanging on and hanging tough.
More than 5,000 people ignored a government order banning the protest and marched into the streets of Panama City. The march was well underway when Panamanian troops and police using water cannon and tear gas broke it up. Some of the protesters were injured. Those who organized the march called it a last-ditch effort to pressure Noriega to give up power and leave the country. But Noriega and the government he controls were able to get through another day. They paid retired government workers pension benefits in cash, even though the government is said to be broke. An economic squeeze on Panama by the U.S. has cut off the flow of dollars here.
This is the last we want to get. I'm very sure of that. They don't have any more cash.
The government did threaten to force the banks here to reopen so it could get its hands on some cash. But so far, the banks remain closed. The economic squeeze was supposed to have forced Noriega out by this time. But the general has proven more durable than U.S. officials had figured. Now, NBC News has learned from sources in Panama that the White House is conducting secret negotiations with Noriega. The sources say a solution to the crisis may be at hand. It calls for the United States to lift court orders which froze $50 million in Panamanian assets in the U.S. In return, Noriega would agree to resign, install cabinet members acceptable to the U.S., and put officers in charge of the National Guard the United States agrees to. Called a Panamanian solution, it would be face-saving for both Noriega and the U.S., according to the sources. If the U.S. is not willing to allow the so-called Panamanian solution, the sources say, Noriega vows to continue to tough it out, printing his own currency and creating and arming a civilian militia. Ed Rabel, NBC News, Panama.
The American combat troops who were rushed to Honduras as a show of force 11 days ago after a reported invasion by Nicaragua now are coming back home. The troops never got within 90 miles of where the fighting was reported, but today, as 800 members of the 82nd Airborne Division prepared to leave, they knew that they would be welcomed home in style. And they were. After parachuting into their home base in North Carolina, the paratroopers were serenaded by a military band and cheered by their families and friends. When President and Mrs. Reagan go back home to California when his term is over next January, they will be moving to the Bel Air section of Los Angeles, one of the most exclusive and secluded areas in this country. They have taken a 3-year lease on this house with a swimming pool and 6,500 square feet of living space. It has 17 rooms, including 3 bedrooms, 6 baths. The house is owned by a group of friends of the Reagans who bought it with them in mind. There is no word on how much the Reagans will be paying in rent, however.
I've heard some people say that all pain relievers are the same. Well, that's just not true. In the hospital after a boating accident, my doctor set me straight. He gave me Tylenol. It stopped the pain without irritating my stomach like aspirin or even ibuprofen can. With so many pain relievers today, some people might have trouble deciding. But I know what to trust. Tylenol. because they're not all the same.
Trust Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
Why I like stovetop instead. I used to make my husband potatoes every night. And then one day he said he'd be missing supper because he had to work late. I thought, that's strange for a milkman. So next night, I made stovetop stuffing. And when he tasted those breadcrumbs and spices, he said, Marty, let's have dessert in the gazebo tonight. Well, that was lots of kids and grandkids ago. Do I still make stovetop? You bet your gazebo I do.
Stovetop instead.
When I'm stuffed up, I want relief fast.
Neosynephrine starts working in a neosecond.
A neosecond. I like that.
Today, nothing works faster to get you breathing.
Breathing. I like that.
Neosynephrine. Relief in a neosecond.
Fixing this water damage will cost $1,200. Could I have prevented it?
You could. Thompson's Water Seal protects wood, brick, and concrete with its special waterproofing formula. Thompson's Water Seal, a great defense against repair expense.
The guys around the office think I bought a Buick Regal because it's so beautifully designed and so comfortable. And they're right. But they also think I got a raise because in their eternal wisdom, they think this Regal cost $2,000 or $3,000 more than it did. If that's what you think, go see your Buick dealer. You'll find Regal is priced with T-Bird and Cougar, even less. But don't tell the guys around the office.
The great American road belongs to Buick.
We're going to some extra lengths on special segment tonight, drugs and terror. We keep reporting stories of drug murders or shootouts of one kind or another here and in Latin America, but that's a little like reporting a war, one firefight at a time. It doesn't show the whole bloody picture, the incredible extent of drug terror and what it does to whole countries. Tonight on this program, we have set aside extra time to do just that, and we begin with Brian Ross's report on how drug lords are terrorizing Colombia.
This is one of the border crossings from the west into the tight security police state of Hungary. Sometime last year, somewhere around here, a team of assassins from a long way away managed to slip through all the checkpoints here to get to Budapest to carry out an assignment for one of the world's most ruthless criminal organizations. The assassins were sent here, to this quiet street in Budapest, by the drug bosses who run the Medellin cocaine cartel in Colombia. The man the drug bosses wanted dead was the former Minister of Justice of Colombia, who lived here and who had been sent to this Soviet bloc country as ambassador for his own safety after the drug bosses had marked him for death in Colombia. But even here, thousands of miles from Colombia, in a police state, the drug bosses set out to prove that anyone who gets in their way will be killed. This was the scene hours after the assassins made their move, firing 5 bullets into the Colombian ambassador at close range.
Shot here, the first one who penetrates in the mouth.
Miraculously, Ambassador Enrique Parejo lived, one of the few times the drug bosses failed in their campaign of murder. Now, all over the world, Ambassador Parejo is a hero in the fight against the men who tried to kill him. This was the ambassador just a month after he was shot. With his would-be assassin still at large, his bullet wounds not yet healed, his jaws wired shut, Parejo refused to hide or to give up. Do you think that by speaking out as forcefully as you are, that you're inviting them to come after you again?
It is impossible for me to change. For that reason, I have said they can also kill me, kill somebody who fight against them. But they cannot change the will of persons who are convinced that we have to fight to defeat them.
But in Colombia, a place of proud traditions, this is not a time for great acts or even strong words against the cocaine business. The Colombian cocaine bosses may not have intimidated Ambassador Parejo, but with all their violence, their wealth, and their power, they seem to have intimidated, corrupted, overwhelmed much of Colombian government and Colombian society. A lot of important people here say the days of fighting the drug bosses in Colombia are over, that Colombia has paid just too high a price. There has been so much bloodshed, so much killing, that the Colombians are numb. No one is safe. The Attorney General was murdered in January when he went to Medellin to investigate the cartel. And when the Attorney General was buried, the president of the country did not come, reportedly because he feared for his own life. And now the new Attorney General says Colombia should not make war on the drug cartel, it should make peace with the cartel by simply legalizing the cocaine business. In fact, it's been years since the big drug bosses here have had much to fear from Colombian judges or prosecutors. This is one of the last times a big cartel boss, Fabio Ochoa, was called in for questioning. Ochoa showed up at the Bogota courthouse surrounded by 4 bodyguards carrying machine guns. And they went unchallenged right into the judge's chambers. Ochoa was quickly released and no charges were ever brought.
If you are a judge and you receive a case against a drug trafficker, in a few hours a lawyer will show up.
Lou Tams, former American ambassador to Colombia, says the drug bosses use bundles of cash and threats against judges' families to get the cases against them thrown out of court.
And if you're not interested in the bundle, then the lawyer will show you a photograph album. And the photograph album will be of your wife and your children and your grandchildren. And so what do? I'll tell you what you do. You let them go. You let the suspect go.
Incredibly, some of the most ruthless drug bosses are now prominent, accepted figures in Colombian society. Pablo Escobar and other cartel leaders under indictment in the United States have owned leading professional soccer teams in the country. One of Colombia's leading television stars has had an open romantic relationship with Escobar. And one of the country's top sports heroes, Matador Dario Chica, is closely associated with the Ochoa family. And in the remote areas of Colombia, where the drug bosses operate their cocaine business, they live like feudal lords. One drug boss even has a castle. They spend millions raising fancy show horses, and their ranches and farms are some of the biggest in South America. Most troubling of all is that, like feudal lords, the drug bosses have made the people in the countryside loyal to them. In the aftermath of a big earthquake, hundreds of homeless peasants stood in line to receive handouts of cash, not from a relief worker, but from a drug boss, the most violent of the Colombian drug bosses, Gonzalo Rodriguez. In a few hours, Rodriguez, guarded by the national police, personally handed out almost $200,000, using a small amount of his billions in cocaine profits to make himself a beloved figure with people who may not know much about what's happened to the prosecutors in Medellin, or the judges in Bogota, or the ambassador in Budapest.
How close do you think the traffickers are to winning that battle?
No, if things continue as they are running now, they are very, very near to win this battle.
Brian Ross, NBC News, Bogota.
And today we learned the acting Attorney General of Colombia, Alfredo Gutierrez Marquez, the man who recommended legalizing cocaine, he has resigned. Gutierrez wrote a letter of resignation to Colombia's president when it was disclosed that his brother bought a huge farm from drug boss Pablo Escobar, and a plane believed to belong to the drug cartel landed there recently. Someone who is standing up to the drug bosses, however, is Andres Pastrana, the mayor-elect of Bogota. During his campaign, he was kidnapped by drug thugs and rescued after a week. A short while later, he was elected mayor on a platform of cracking down on the drug trade. Mayor Pastrana is in New York to meet with Mayor Koch about a joint anti-drug campaign. I must say, Mr. Mayor, to an American looking in, the situation in your country seems hopeless, that you're losing the war. How do you size it up?
No, I don't think it's hopeless until the last Colombian, honest Colombian, is gone. I think we, the Colombians inside our country, outside our country, 99% are honest, and we are honest and hardworking people. I think if Colombia loses the battle, the world will lose the war against drugs.
As you know, many Americans believe the thing for us to do is to shut off all aid to Colombia, to move troops to the border, and maybe even to the country, to shut down those cocaine factories that are operating there. What would be your reaction to that?
I don't think that's the way to attack the drug in our country or in the United States, because now the United States and Colombia, we are producing countries. We produce cocaine. Now you're producing marijuana. We are both consuming countries, and I think we have to start exchanging opinions on how can we fight the drug in our streets, not only as the policing or repression, but also in consumption in the streets with campaigns of prevention and education. That's why I want to plan a meeting at the end of this year in Colombia, inviting the most important mayors of the United States, Europe, Latin America, to exchange opinions on how can we apply in our countries success campaigns against the drug.
But when they see that footage from your country of bullet-riddled cars and dead officials, don't you think you'll have a hard time getting them there?
Yeah, but I think I have to fight. We have to fight, the young people, for our generation, our children's generation. We have to find to give to them a free or a drug-free society.
And do you live in constant fear for your own safety?
I don't think in the past. I think in the future, and I think I have a responsibility with my city, with my country, and all of us. We have to start fighting against the drug.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
It's worth pointing out, by the way, that the mayor is a former television anchorman. Tomorrow on this program, we'll examine how drugs are terrorizing many parts of this country and what can be done about that. That's Nightly News for this Monday night. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Oh, look at the time. I gotta get some Z's.
Nitol will help you get your Z's.
Nitol helps you feel drowsy so you can get your Z's.
Nitol will help you get your Z's.
Why do they call it heartburn? When it's me, your stomach, that's hurting. When antacids don't stop the pain from coming back, it could be an ulcer. It's okay, because there are treatment programs to help heal ulcers. If you think you have an ulcer, go see your doctor and ask about the available treatment programs. Sponsored by SmithKline & French, the ulcer experts. You could make your stomach very happy.
I'm Brian Gumbel. Tomorrow morning on Today, a disturbing new study on housing in America.
I'm Maria Shriver, also Martin Sheen and Pro Bailey.
Join us tomorrow morning on Today.
If they could see you now out on a fun ship cruise, you're eating fancy food, doing what you choose. I'd like your friends back home to get a good look at the first-rate Carnival cruise that you took. All I can say is, wow, hey, look at where you are. What a fun ship, holy cow. They'd never believe it if your friends could see you now.
Take a 3, 4, or 7-day cruise on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
My sister recommended Preparation H for my hemorrhoidal problems. Why should I listen to her? Because she's also a doctor.
It often relieves pain and itching for hours, helps shrink swelling of inflamed hemorrhoidal tissue, and soothes painful irritation.
Doctors know best.
Tonight, it will become the bloodiest war in American history.
2 sons dead? My God, isn't that enough?
As the president is haunted by dreams of destiny.
Who is dead in the White House?
A world premiere miniseries. The unforgettable finale of Gore Vidal's Lincoln, tonight.
Coming up next on The Scene at 6, campaign promises and big wish lists puts the mayor in a taxing situation. A federal magistrate says nursing homes are illegal.